A man stabbed 5 people in Marseille while screaming Allahu Akbar, and all the authorities now line up to say his motive is totally unclar. It's German, klar. Those
You're
folks
right.
won't admit the reality of jihad. For them to face facts will take an act of God. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. It's This Week in Jihad. And yes, that is a true story. I have it right here. This is the big story out of France going on right now. Well, it happened a few days ago, I should say. And this is Abdul Kader. His last name has not been released, but he was walking around in Marseille, just like you see him there, carrying a big knife. And he stabbed several people, 5 people, in the center of Marseille. And he was screaming something while he did it. I'll bet you have an idea what it might be.
You know, human beings can technically shout anything they want, Robert.
Anything.
So,
There's
yeah,
really just no limit.
no limit at all to the things people could be shouting. But based on probabilities, statistically, you'd have to go with Allahu Akbar.
Statistically, you're correct. That is exactly what he was shouting as he stabbed 5 people in the center of Marseille. However, an Interior Ministry source said no motives had yet been ruled out, but we must remain cautious over whether this is terror related.
What? Now, wait a minute. Knife and screaming Allahu Akbar, and we need to avoid jumping to conclusions. Was it?
And
was that
David,
the
there's
assessment?
more. There's more. He was reciting verses of the Quran as he rushed toward his victims and started stabbing them. Maybe when you meet the unbelievers, strike the necks. Passages like that. He also has a previous arrest record for shouting about Jews in front of a mosque.
Well,
Threats
at least,
and such.
at least it wasn't in front of a synagogue, in front of
Yeah.
a mosque. He'd be a hero.
Well, sure. But, the Minister of the Interior, Bruno Retailleau, he said words were spoken in Arabic. The attacker spoke words, but it's not for me to say.
Look, let's just say words were spoken. That's enough.
Yeah.
What else do we need to know? Words. Everyone to get this. The only thing you need to know about this story is words were spoken. Or if you want to be even more clear, you go with Ilhan Omar's something happened to someone or someone did something while saying something. And that should be enough for you. And
Someone
more,
said some words.
yeah, if you want more detail than that, you might be an Islamophobe. Let's just say that.
So he stabbed 5 people while saying some words and
I've
reciting.
stabbed 5 people while saying words, Robert. I mean, who doesn't do that? Everyone does that.
Yeah, I did that this morning, and everybody really
I
does.
do that for breakfast.
Sure. And he was reciting passages from a certain book. But, it could have been War and Peace.
Huckleberry Finn.
That's a good one. Could have been...
It's France.
can't even
Rene
think of any
Descartes.
books.
Rene Descartes' Meditations on First Philosophy. Three Musketeers. Three Musketeers, maybe. All for one for all.
That's a good one. Something from Zola. J'accuse, and then he accuses the people who are nearby. Could have been anything.
These are all perfectly valid theories.
Every last one of them. All right, we got another story out of France, David. It's been a busy week in the French Republic, the Fifth Republic. And this is about Muhammad Suhail Akram. And what he did was, dressed in a jalaba, he tried to steal a bag from a man who fled by jumping onto a train, and Muhammad Suhail Akram then threatened him through the window with a knife. And this time he did not say Allahu Akbar. He said, "You are not Muslim. I'm going to kill you. You are not Muslim. I'm going to kill you. A few hours later, he runs into the same guy. What are the odds? And the guy is walking along this time with his cousin because he did not want to be going around alone after he'd just been threatened with death. And so he asked the two of them if they were Muslims and repeated, "You are not Muslim, I'm going to kill you." And then he pulled out the Allahu Akbar and the knife. Muhammad Suhail Akram.
Once again, obvious that it can't have anything to do with Islam because Islam is peaceful. So it's another case of sudden onset jihad syndrome, that weird mental health condition that causes so many people to misunderstand Islam in exactly the same way.
So you're familiar with this story, in other words?
Yeah, the sad part is that there was no one to warn the people of France for all these decades.
Nobody at all.
No
Anyway,
one.
they put him in the psych ward. And
I already said it.
yes, exactly. That's
I
why I
already
was
said it. I
saying
already said it,
you
the
must
mental
be
health
familiar with this story because they
I was
can't
not.
they cannot admit there's jihad, so they assume all these people or pretend all these people are mentally ill. So
Yeah, guys, wait, I want everyone to understand this. We've said it like 50 to 100 times in these live streams. Understand why every time there's a jihad attack, they conclude mental disorder. It's because they've all been bombarded their entire lives with the claim Islam is a religion of peace and tolerance. It's crystal clear from the Quran with powerful verses like there's no compulsion in religion. And if anyone kills a man, it's as if he's killed all mankind. Just don't actually look them up or any commentaries or how they're understood in Islam. And just go with what we're telling you they mean and conclude that you'd have to be absolutely insane to interpret this book as violent. And therefore, anyone who interprets it as calling for violence must be insane. This is the result. This is the result of years of propaganda from Muslim groups and from politicians and from journalists and from educators and from everyone. If you have indoctrinated an entire population to think that you'd have to be insane to interpret this completely peaceful book as violent, then guess what? After every terrorist attack, you're concluding, nope, another person suddenly went insane and decided to do something.
So Muhammad Suhail Akram has escaped from the psychiatric hospital. Now is at large.
I was thinking of Escape from Alcatraz and stuff like that.
Yep. He probably just walked out the front door.
Yeah. Oh, probably just said, "Hey guys, remember all that jihad stuff? Yeah. On closer inspection of the Quran, I've realized that it's peaceful." And they're like, "Oh, by all means, there's the door."
Yes.
Can I borrow a knife on my way out? Sure.
That's it. So he's all set now. He can go out for his next jihad. All right. Do you remember Ilan Halimi?
Not by name.
Let me get his picture here. I know I've got it. There he is. Ilan Halimi was a Jewish man in France. And he, some years ago, was in 2006. Yeah, so it's almost 20 years ago. He was murdered in a more brutal fashion than I have ever heard anybody being murdered in. I mean, it's really one of the worst stories ever. Ilan Halimi was lured by a pretty Arab Muslim girl, young woman. This is not an Aisha situation. And he went to her apartment. When he got to her apartment, all her brothers and cousins and such were there waiting, and they duct taped him. They duct taped his entire body to a chair. And then for a couple of weeks, they brutally tortured him, put out cigarettes on his body, beat him, didn't feed him, didn't give him water, beat him some more, burnt him some more. It's just, and there are pictures because they would call the family. The reason why they did this is a Muslim group, and they assumed that all the Jews were rich. All Jews are rich. So they would call Ilan Halimi's family and put up the phone, hold up the phone and say, "You hear him screaming?" And they would beat him while they were on the phone to his family. And when it became clear that his family was not rich and did not have the money to pay the ransom that they wanted, this is after several weeks, they let him go. They let him loose naked in a park, and he staggered out of whatever they had driven him there in, and almost immediately collapsed, and then was found and died on the way to the hospital. And so that's the story of Ilan Halimi. It was 2006, and it horrified all of France, although not enough to make them ever look at the deeply rooted anti-Semitism in Islam. They just thought, this is this horrible criminal gang, and now we have brought them to justice, and so on. And there you go. But Ilan Halimi was never the impetus for any kind of reflection in France, although the French did plant an olive tree in his honor, and it was known to be a kind of monument of sorts to Ilan Halimi. So what do you think happens to this olive tree, David?
I'm guessing bad things, Robert.
You're correct. There were two Muslim brothers from Tunisia, twins, and they just cut it down. And this is not the first time that it has been targeted by jihad-minded Muslims in France, who don't like the whole idea of remembering this horribly tortured young man at all. And so, yes?
Oh no, I was just looking up this story.
It's a terrible story.
They call the group that did it the Gang of Barbarians.
That's right. That's the one.
Yeah, no, they made a movie about it in 2014. They made a movie called 24 Days.
I never saw it, and I'm sure that it goes nowhere toward any illumination of the motivating ideology.
Yeah, if they do anything, I mean, this might have been before the recent insanity, because things got more insane over the past several years. But if they were to do it now, if they were to make this movie now, they would have him captured by a bunch of far right, very white, far white Nazi types, and that would be the movie, because you couldn't make it and actually show Muslims doing it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. There was a movie not long ago in Britain, and it was based on Axel Ruda, what's his name? Ruda Kubata Baba. You've seen that guy. Very, very evil-looking character, and he's the one who killed the little girls, and then there were demonstrations all over the country, and the
did they make him a little white kid or something?
Exactly, yes. And he's black. He's from Jamaica or somewhere. It was racially motivated. He also had Al-Qaeda literature in his apartment. And so he seems to have been, if he wasn't a convert to Islam, he was at least influenced by their love for violence. And yeah, they made a movie about it and made him into a white English kid, not Muslim, of course. I didn't see that one either, but I wouldn't be surprised if they made his victims Muslim,
Yeah. The new retelling, it would have to either be the far right or Mossad, and they're attacking a poor Muslim immigrant. That would have to be the story right now.
That's it.
Is this on Jihad Watch? Because I found the original story, but about the olive tree, that seems like something
Yes.
I might want to make a little video about and just tell the story, and then, because no one's going to remember.
Yeah, it's on Jihad Watch. I can remind you all at this juncture that every story we discuss is from the last week of posts at jihadwatch.org, and you can find all the sources, all the news stories, all the documentation, and you can also find many more jihad stories that we don't get to on this program. And that actually leads me to one that I've been meaning to, I want to make sure to mention this week because it's been going all around. And that is Abdulaziz Kawam, who is a Muslim in Canada, and he went onto the bus in Surrey, British Columbia, and started asking people if they were Muslim, and if they said no, then he stabbed them. And I don't know why, but that story was getting wide circulation this week. But I just wanted to talk about it so that I could tell you we're not going to talk about it because we already did. It's from July when he was sentenced, and he actually did it in August 2023. And generally on this show, not exclusively, but most of the time, we talk about the more recent events. Actually, it was April 2023, excuse me. And so just wanted to let you all know that I did see that going around, and I did get all your emails telling me about it, and I appreciate that, but it is a bit of an old story. And there are some new stories, David, unfortunately. We have a terrible story, as these are all terrible stories, out of Nigeria. In Nigeria, a Muslim mob burnt a woman to death because she was accused of criticizing Muhammad.
Oh, and this was a Muslim woman, wasn't it? I remember this one.
Yeah, they set her on fire.
Yeah, and it's once again it's this, and it's just interesting, Robert, because you might think that this is just some local custom or something like that, but you're talking Nigeria, and we see the same thing all the way out in Pakistan, where you can commit murder by false accusation, murder by false blasphemy accusation. If we were there and we were both Muslims, or one of us was a non-Muslim or whatever, and you and I are having a disagreement, we're arguing, and I really think, you know what? I would love to kill this guy, but I don't want to get in trouble. All I have to do is say, oh my goodness, everyone, he just insulted Muhammad. Boom, instant, you get killed.
That's it.
You get killed for it.
Yeah, so this is something we see very frequently, many examples in Pakistan. But as you noted, this one's in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. And so it indicates that the principles that basically the accusation is enough, they're not limited. It's not just a matter of people getting hysterical in one locality. For some reason, this is something that is common in many Muslim countries. And it seems very strange because you would think that there would be some provision for people who would be falsely accused.
And you can see the connection to the Muslim sources, not just because they're taught to react violently when anyone criticizes Muhammad or something like that, but you remember the story from Sunan Abu Dawud where they find a woman's dead body and Muhammad's like, hey, who did this? And the guy comes forward and said, yeah, Muhammad, she's my slave girl. I had 2 kids by her and stuff like that. But I had to murder her because she just wouldn't stop insulting you. And Muhammad said, nope, no retaliation against this man.
Yep.
But I mean, think about that. Who's the witness of this woman? She just started hurling blasphemies about Muhammad, this guy's slave girl. Who's the witness? Him, the guy who brutally murdered her. And his defense was, oh, yeah, we were there and she just wouldn't shut up. She kept talking trash about you. No punishment for this guy. Mm-hmm. So what is that? It's, hey, vigilante justice against blasphemers is perfectly acceptable, but also no concern about confirming whether this is actually the accusations are true or not. It's all you have to say is, no, it's because someone was saying something about Muhammad. Oh, then it's perfectly acceptable to brutally murder someone. And so it's now a method of murdering someone you don't like in Muslim countries.
Mm-hmm. And it's justified by Muhammad's example, and so there is no recourse. There's not even any possibility for reform because Muhammad did it. And so how could you say it's wrong? Speaking of Muhammad, we had a show a few weeks ago, the Muhammad edition.
Oh, did
And
you find another Muhammad Muhammad? Because I saw one.
yeah, there he
I saw
is.
another Muhammad. Guys, look, I understand there are all kinds of peaceful Muslims in this world, but we know statistically, if your name is Muhammad, the chances of doing certain things increase significantly. Just ask the victims of the grooming gangs and so on. How many times do we see Muhammad over and over and over again on the list of perpetrators? So anyway, we understand there are plenty of peaceful Muslims out there, but there are statistics here, and we understand the implications. What the impact on the statistics? If your name is Muhammad, if your name is Muhammad, you stay away from me. I'm not kidding. Stay away from me. Do not come near me. Do not come near my kids. Do not come near my wife. Don't do it.
So we had a Muhammad a couple weeks ago, and he was in Tennessee raping a woman who was passed out in front of, was it in front of a church, I believe? And she died then shortly thereafter. And so that was a pretty horrible story. And now we have Muhammad, who spells it differently, but it's the same name. And he is a Atlanta police officer, David. So you could. He is an officer with the Atlanta Police Department, and he was arrested for charges of rape and false imprisonment. He was made an arrangement to get a professional massage, and he said, "Okay, I want sex now." And she said her service, she's not that kind of, you hear about prostitution being carried out under the guise of a massage place. But this lady says, no, I really just give massages. I'm not a prostitute. And so he raped her. And so he is now on administrative leave. And the chief of police says nobody is above the law, including members of our own department. And
what about Muslims?
yeah, it's kind of dicey, you would think, because he's of course, very important hire, who is somebody who they were very happy to have on the force because they wanted to show that they weren't Islamophobic and that they were diverse and all that, multicultural. And of course, he's just acting in accord with principles that are Islamic, is he not?
Yeah, and I mean, just think about how dumb this is. So if you find if you go to a massage parlor that's actually just for massages, well, guess what? There are places that are that do the prostitution stuff as well. You should be able to find those places if you're a police officer. But yeah, I just saw.
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, he should have been able to know.
Yeah, so there's that. The only positive side is that the defense that we constantly see from Muslims in the UK and the rest of Europe, where they're caught doing something or trying to do something with a 12 or 13-year-old girl, and then it says, "What? I didn't know any better. I didn't know. I'm from a different country." And they go, "Oh, you didn't know any better. I guess we'll just let you slide." At least he's a police officer, so he can't pretend he was ignorant of the law. So that won't work. Side note, Robert, I don't know if you were planning on covering it, but did you see that Dearborn, Michigan now has a 40% Muslim police force, and they're all celebrating. They're celebrating in Dearborn. We now have. So they had problems back in the day getting Muslim police officers because Muslims were like, we don't want to be on your side. Police officers, no.
I
and
didn't
so
see this.
They're really, really doing everything they could to recruit more Muslim police officers and so on. And now they're celebrating because they got up to 40% of the police force in Dearborn is Muslim. And I just have to point out, I've mentioned this in the past a couple of times, but when we got arrested in Dearborn, Michigan, when we got arrested back in the day, he didn't say this to me because I didn't say anything. But the guy who was taking our mug shots, he took my mug shot. I don't know. I didn't say anything to him. Nabil and Paul, they both told me the same thing, that they were talking to the guy while he was doing the mug shots and stuff like that separately. totally separately. Told them the same thing separately, and uh, they'd been saying, "Hey, don't you think it's messed up that they can just for having a conversation with Muslims, they can just lock us up and throw us in jail or something like that? And don't you think it's there's some problems with what's going on around here?" So they both said something like that, and he told them both the same thing. He said um, something along the lines of, "You don't have to tell me." He said, "I've had to go into homes where the daughter's been murdered and beheaded, and I never see a story about it anywhere. No one knows. It never makes it. It never makes it to public notice."
Wow.
So he's talking about like honor killings and stuff going
Hmm.
on in Dearborn, and no one knows about it
You know,
because the police cover it up and make sure it doesn't get to the media.
mhm.
But I'm sure that now that they've got way more Muslims on the police force, this will all be cleared up.
That was around the time that I believe you spoke, David, if I recall correctly. Pamela Geller and I had a conference in the Dearborn area. I think it
I
might
think
have
it was
been
in Dearborn. I
yeah,
think
I
it was
think
in
so.
Dearborn. Yeah, yeah.
And it was about honor killing, the Jessica Mokdad case, and there was another case out of Florida around the same time that I believe we discussed there that was reported as a suicide, and the actual police report said she repeat committed suicide by repeated this Muslim woman by repeatedly banging her head against a coffee table until she died.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a common way to commit suicide.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Hmm.
Just like whatever it was we were killing people this morning. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That people behead themselves, all kinds of things.
Hmm. Hmm. These are indeed interesting times. All right, let's go to Belgium. There's quite a lot of stuff going on in Belgium these days. And in Belgium, there's a doctor, Dr. Kassim Arkazawi. And Dr. Kassim Arkazawi, he was examining this little Jewish girl. Did you see this?
Nope.
Let me see. I have this here. Yes. All right. And this is part of the report that he filed in regard to her condition. And it says under allergies, Jewish. Dr. Kassim Arkazawi. Um, yes.
And I'm just, I'm trying to think why that would be an allergy. You could see why I'd put medical problems because, according to him and his religion, she might be at risk of turning into an ape or a pig or a rat or a lizard, depending on which source you go through.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, guys, we're not making this up. There's a hadith about someone tried to give Muhammad roasted lizard, and he said, "No, this might be a Jew. How do I know this isn't a Jew that Allah turned into a lizard?" And then he was arguing for a while that rats and mice are actually rats and mice that Allah were Jews that Allah turned into mice and rats. And he said you could perform an experiment to prove this. He said that they follow kosher dietary laws. You can put camel milk in front of a rat and it won't touch it. But if you put sheep's milk in front of a rat, it will. And so these are clearly Jews that Allah transformed into rats. Confirmed by Islamic science.
Yeah, that sounds to me like the thing about how cats won't walk on the Quran.
Yeah.
All right. You remember Mohijab? I mean, I know you remember Mohijab, but do you remember that Mohijab a few months ago was saying, if you don't like what's going on in Britain, if you don't like the increased Muslim presence in Britain, you can always move. And he
Yep.
was just basically thumping his chest and proclaiming victory, which is perfectly reasonable for Britain. And now we have the same thing in Belgium. She looks like she just got out of the shower, but that's just her style of hijab. This is Saliha Rice, who is a politician from Molenbeek, which is a very heavily Muslim area, and in Belgium. I believe it's in Antwerp, if I recall correctly. And she said anyone who doesn't accept veiled women, anyone who doesn't accept Islam in Belgium, can leave.
It's just interesting because if you say the same thing in reverse, if your guys aren't cool with freedom of speech or this or that, if you Muslims don't like that, then leave. You're called a racist and a bigot and Islamophobe and so on. But always two different sets of rules.
Always. So that's Saliha Rais. Meanwhile, there was a pro-Hamas rally in Belgium. Quite a lot of things going on in Belgium these days. And where is it? I know it's here. Oh, here we go. You see, I make a list of all the pictures by the names of the pictures, and then I know which one to look for. But then there's so many that can't find it. Those are a couple of kids, and you see they've got the keffiyeh, and they're being carried on the shoulders of another guy with the keffiyeh over here on the left, and this is part of a pro-Hamas rally. And those children who are being carried on the shoulders, they actually are in the video praising Hamas leaders in an Arabic language song, singing "Glory to all our martyrs, glory to Yahya Sinwar, glory to Abu Hamza," those being Hamas jihadis who have been killed by Israel. They also praise Naji Abu Saif, who is the leader, who was a leader of Palestinian Islamic Jihad, who was killed last March, and Walid Nimer Assad Daqqa, who is a Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine jihadi. And so we have now on the streets of Belgium, in other words, open glorification of people who are jihad terrorists.
Yeah, you have to wonder at what point do all these people celebrating these guys realize that all these guys keep losing and dying and start to think maybe God isn't supporting us in all this.
They never seem to get there.
They never seem to get it. Like they could, I mean, all they do is lose and get crushed by everyone. And they're still just, yep, this is Allah's peculiar way of making us win. You're going to win by endlessly losing.
It's even more peculiar because the Quran repeatedly says you will prosper in this world as well as the next. And you will suffer in this world as well as the next if you disobey Allah. So that should mean that the pious believing Muslims are going to be the richest, most powerful people in the world. And yet they are not. They keep losing. And they don't ever think, wait a minute, maybe what the Quran is telling me here is not actually true.
Yeah, and I have to point out that even though you've got this at the rallies, that this is psychologically difficult for Muslims because when Muhammad Hijab did his famous poll on what causes doubts among Muslims, the number one thing was all these information about Muhammad and so on. But I think it was 20% said the weakness of the ummah. The ummah should be strong, and they recognize that it's weak. And so it's this weird situation where you know that they think they're supposed to be in control and they think they're supposed to be lording it over everyone else, and they're recognizing this isn't the way the world is supposed to be. We're sitting here trying to get to Western nations because we can't build a place where anyone wants to live, and we go there and everything is just screwed up, and we're nothing works out for us and we're not in control of anything. This bothers them, and you should want it to bother them, and it should be thrown in their faces. You're never going to win. You're never going to win with Islam. It's not going to happen ever. Instead, Western nations, Western leaders, Western politicians, Western journalists keep encouraging them like, hey, maybe Allah's just doing it maybe he's giving you the victory in a different way. He's just having you immigrate until you take over entire places and then kick everyone who disagrees with you out. And
well, that's what the lady said, right? Saliha Rais. You don't like the hijab, you don't like Islam, then you can leave Belgium.
That's what I mean. And so, hey, we're really weak, but maybe Allah's helping us conquer them in a different way than from what we did in the
Hmm.
past.
Yep. And he's testing us so that victory is right around the corner. We're going to start winning tomorrow. It's
Yeah,
going to
and I mean,
happen.
just think about that. Yeah, think about that. If you just like gave them a good smack, I don't mean like a physical smack. I mean you're like you put that you checked them, you put them in check, and let them know under no circumstances ever happening and anywhere. Go ahead and open your mouth about that crap right now and watch what happens.
Hmm.
And boom, we'll just kick you out or lock you up or something like that for promoting jihad and everything else they talk about, child marriage, all this stuff, killing apostates. Just let them run their mouths endlessly. If you if you stop that, what hope would they have? You'd actually start that would start eating them up inside. Why are we so weak? Why? It doesn't
Hmm.
make any sense according to Islam.
And ultimately, that could lead to a lot of people leaving if they just think it through. And there's the tremendous example, not to say that he's a good guy, but Kemal Ataturk, the founder of secular Turkey, uh, very terrible person. As a matter of fact, uh, Armenian genocide, Greek genocide, Assyrian genocide, 2 million people, 2.5 million people murdered. But the reason why I mention him is because he did not shy away from ascribing the failure and the fall of the Ottoman Empire to Islam. And he said, "Look, the West is victorious. Their system works. We're going to rebuild Turkey as a Western-style republic." And he did. And it was secular up until Erdogan started to dismantle Turkish secularism.
Yeah, and that was in a lot of places after the collapse of the caliphate. They said, "Look, we lost, man. Islam
Hmm.
lost. We lost. Western nations are more powerful. This. There's no. Doesn't seem like this is the correct position. We need to modernize and start becoming more like Western nations because we threw everything we had into Islam and we just got crushed.
Hmm.
So what do we do? Seems like there's a problem, and that's when we've talked about this many times before. That's when the alternative interpretation came out. Maybe the reason that you're losing is that Allah is punishing you or testing you because you haven't been devout enough in enforcing Sharia, and so this leads to the Iranian Revolution. Mullahs taking over. This leads to the
Hmm.
formation of the Muslim Brotherhood. This maybe Allah is just punishing us, and we have to be way more strict in enforcing and imposing Sharia, and then Allah will bless us to take over the world. So guess what? They tried that, didn't work. Didn't work. The Iranian regime is collapsing. The supreme example of the Muslim Brotherhood ideology was ISIS. That didn't work out, restoring the caliphate, and so here we are, right in the middle of. You should be realizing that the alternative interpretation didn't work either. None of that is working. This should be a time of supreme doubt in whether Islam is true and what are Western nations, instead of throwing it in their faces and saying, ha ha, see, this stuff isn't true, so quit trying to subjugate the world with it. We're saying, no, just keep coming here and multiplying, and that's how Allah looks like he might be delivering us into your hands.
Yep. Quran
And
59:2. They destroyed their houses by their own hands.
we are sending the wrong messages.
Yep.
And I just have to point out, this is the message that keeps the jihadis going, right?
Hmm.
If you thought, okay, there's just no way to win, there's nothing I can do, then why would you be going out and doing it? But if you still think, Allah, he is the best of planners. Look at this. Look what he's doing. I just gotta stay the course. And a bunch of people are gonna die because of the idiot politicians.
That's right. Speaking of which, here's one. That is the Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan, Field Marshal Asim Munir. And he was recently at a dinner in Tampa, Florida. And people started asking him about Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. And he said, "We are a nuclear nation. If we think we're going down, we'll take half the world with us." Just in case anybody thinks they're going to get those nukes out of Pakistan.
Yeah, I don't know about half the world, but Pakistan's probably one of the last places in the world I would trust with nuclear weapons.
Indeed, but they got him, and so he's saying, "You come for us, we'll take half the world down."
Yeah, and pretty much the only thing keeping them from doing anything with that is they know that it would be their annihilation because they got India right beside them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are other regimes. There are other regimes like Iran, which would be crazy enough to do something with those weapons.
Because of Shiite eschatology.
Yeah, you bring about the end times by doing all this crazy stuff, and yep.
The Muslims being persecuted more than ever before, triggering the return of the 12th Imam and the Islamization of the whole world. They really believe that stuff. You know, Ahmadinejad, when he was president, actually built the highway from the well where the boy is supposedly hiding right now, the 12th Imam, so he can get to Tehran right away and start killing non-Muslims. He would go talk to him too. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
Yeah, I'll talk to him too. Hey, get off your lazy butt and do something, man.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything since 874, and it's 2025 now. This is it's a long wait. All right, I believe we discussed this. This came up the other day, but anyway, a man named Hassan Uzun has been arrested. It turns out that he is from Turkey, and he was arrested in the Netherlands for attempting to murder the late Pope Francis last year in Italy. And of course, he had the ease of travel throughout Europe probably delayed his arrest because it made it harder for him to be tracked. But Hassan Uzun seems to be a member of ISIS. And so for all the attempts at dialogue, all the palling around that Pope Francis did with Ahmed at-Tayyib, the Grand Sheikh of Al-Azhar, it doesn't seem to have done any good. This guy, Hassan Uzun, still wanted to kill him for ISIS.
And I mean, think about that. I mean, that's like super, super pro-Palestine guy and so on, and still you gotta die.
Yeah, he said he tried to shame Christians into accepting mass migration. I'm talking about Pope Francis, of course. That he would say, you have to welcome the stranger. It's one of the most important virtues. He never spoke about the necessity to protect your family and your people, or responsibility to protect Christian civilization. It was just
even
you have to open the doors, open the borders.
He even defended the Charlie Hebdo murderers.
That's right.
Yeah, they asked him, "Hey, what do you think about these cartoonists and so on getting killed by all these jihadis?" And he's like, "Well, if you say something about my mother, don't be surprised if you get punched." In other words, hey, if you talk about Muhammad, don't be surprised when these guys completely murder you.
Yep.
And so that's the guy they would even go after. So let that be a lesson to all you guys who think that their hearts are going to melt if you just do whatever they want. No, at the end of the day, the jihadis would still love to kill you too. But what's creepy here is you mentioned ISIS, and we've pointed out many times how as soon as a group takes a little part of Iraq and says, "We're the new caliphate, come join us," you had tons of people from the UK, Germany, France, Canada, the United States head over there. They're all ready, as if they'd just been waiting, and so they went and joined. But guess what? You would have also had Muslims who want the same thing but aren't sure this is the right group, right? How are you going to know? How are you going to know if this is the right group? Well, you might want to wait a little longer and see if they're actually successful. Then you know that they're the group that Allah is actually blessing and so on. And so guess what? There are other people who are waiting. And the same preachers who encourage all those people to join the jihad when the moment is right, those same preachers are still preaching and still winning all these people. So you have in all these countries, guess what? You have more and more people who support the exact same things. And then, of course, they never caught everyone who's involved in ISIS, and you have it's pretty easy to travel around and so on. And then the other problem we've pointed out is a lot of the people who came back who had joined ISIS, they didn't know what these guys had done, so they gave them prison sentences of 8 or 10 or 12 years. Some of those guys are already out. A bunch of those guys are already out now. And,
Yeah.
but don't worry, the de-radicalization program, I sure was really you did a bang up job with that, and they're completely reformed because, I mean, they told you they were. But yeah, the point is there are more disasters waiting to happen right here.
Yeah, you remember John Walker Lind, the Marin County Mujahid, the I forget what else they called him, the California Taliban, something like that. He was a kid from Southern California who converted to Islam and told his parents, "Yeah, I want to go to Yemen to study Arabic." And they said, "Okay, go ahead." And so they waved goodbye. He goes to Yemen. He joins up with Al Qaeda. He ends up in Afghanistan and was arrested fighting against American troops in 2003. And he served like 20 years in prison. And then he got out, and you would think he'd be, if what we're being told is true, that he would have been a model of repentance, of reform, of de-radicalization. But instead, he started writing articles that made it very clear that he was still a jihadi and still very much convinced of Islam and totally committed to jihad and so on. And I don't know, he's dropped out of sight the last few years. I don't know what he's doing now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's all in the same vein.
I just looked up an update after he was released in 2019 for good behavior. But it says in 2021, Lind was observed by the FBI in several meetings with Ali Shukri Amin, who had recently been released from prison after being convicted in 2015 for conspiracy to provide material support for terrorism for his support for ISIS. This could have constituted a violation of the terms of Lind's parole, which prohibited communication with other extremists. However, federal prosecutors chose not to pursue it.
Mm-hmm. Of course they didn't.
Why would they?
Yep. And so now, I don't know, it's 5 years later. Who knows what he's up to?
Nothing but good.
But what I thought was interesting was that he was accorded such respect when he got out of prison. It was like, here's a guy who's really paid his dues. He's shown that he is a mujahid, and he is somebody who is trustworthy in that regard. And so when he wrote those magazine articles, the editors would write these glowing things about his heroism and his courage and all that. And I think, well, this is kind of telling, because we're always told these people were supposed to be moderates all over and everybody rejects terrorism. Here's a guy who joined Al Qaeda and is fighting alongside the Taliban in Afghanistan, and they think he's a hero.
Weird.
Well, it's revealing. Okay, we got several similar things in America. Very interesting things in terms of dawah and so on. This is Saledan Maksut, and he is an official with CARE in New Jersey. And he was speaking recently in a mosque in Passaic County, the Islamic Center of Passaic County in Paterson, New Jersey. And he said that CARE is working to fight deep and toxic Zionism that has infiltrated America and destroyed its fabric. And he says, we are working hand in hand with our partners to fight for Palestine, to fight for Kashmir, to fight against Islamophobia. And he says, I ask you, brothers and sisters, to invest in a future where we have a more just society, where Islam is embraced by Americans, where Muslims are at the forefront sowing righteousness into their communities.
Yeah, it's always this weird. Hey, yeah, we are here to take over, but we're also here to combat Islamophobia if you have a problem with it.
Yeah. So here we have another one. Um, oh, yeah. All right. So I know I got him here. The guy on the left there with the henna colored beard and the imitation of Muhammad.
Hold up, is that Sheikh Uthman?
No, I don't think so. I think it's. Oh, you mean next to him? Could be, actually. This was in a conference in Louisville, Kentucky. And all I have is that the guy on the left is Akram Ziyada. So I don't know what Sheikh Uthman looks like. Is that him in the middle?
It looks like him if it's not him, but it's a pretty common look.
It is indeed. All three of them are kind of right out of central casting. But anyway, Sheikh Akram Ziyada, he's from Jordan, and he spoke at the Al Noor Mosque Islamic Center in Louisville, Kentucky. And he asked Allah to guide the people of the United States to Islam so that they become Muslims and America become an Islamic country. One of those guys might be Kareem Abu Zaid, who is out of Colorado, a guy that I've heard of many times, but I don't know exactly what he looks like offhand. But in any case, yeah, what I thought was interesting about Maksut and Ziyada is that they're saying openly they're working to make America into an Islamic country. So they're saying they're going to be trying to convert Americans. And many other imams over the years have been saying that we are making a concerted effort. It's not really hard to convert Americans, encouraging Muslims to do this. And yet, I do not know, maybe you know, David, but I do not know of a single church or a single organization anywhere in the United States that is trying to train people to counter the dawah, trying to in other words, keep their people from converting to Islam. It seems as if the churches and the schools, and this is across denominations, across traditions, they just don't care. And they don't think this is a real problem. And I suspect that's something they might regret later.
I I'm looking at this, Robert. I think that's Sheikh Uthman. I'm going to go to that because I looked it up on memory. I'm going to look where they got it from for the YouTube channel
Yeah, out of
and check it out.
Kentucky.
But yeah, so if that's Sheikh Uthman, that's so Sheikh Uthman. I'm sure you've heard, but anyway, that's a guy they call Sheikh Ibn Fibbin, Sheikh Ibn Ketchup, Sheikh Ibn Smollett because he faked a hate crime against himself
I
and
remember
then
that.
and then blamed us. But also then his buddy was, his Dawa buddy had a wife who was a Western woman who had reverted to Islam, and she was they were not getting along. They had some problems, so he sent his wife to Sheikh Uthman for some marital counseling. Sheikh Uthman banged the woman and then said, "I'm married to her now," and she hadn't gotten a divorce. She hadn't gotten a divorce from the dude, and so this
Well,
woman was
that's
married.
that's not even allowed according to the Quran. She
Yeah.
had to be divorced first.
That's what I mean. This all happened. The dude, his Dawa buddy exposed all this repeatedly, and Sheikh Uthman just says, "Nope, never happened." Even though he's married to the woman now, and she wasn't divorced from the other dude, and then, um, and then his original wife had to file a restraining order against him because he's one of those guys who has to be choking a woman to be aroused and stuff like that, like Andrew Tate. And it's just this is like the hero of Dawa. This their biggest hero Dawa here on the planet right now.
Sheikh Uthman?
Yeah.
Wow. My goodness. I got to keep up more.
Pretty creepy.
Yes.
Oh, I looked it up. That is indeed Sheikh Uthman.
How do you like that? Well, that must have been a really happening conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if there were any made up hate crimes that happened.
Hey, did you see Ayatollah Shirazi?
Nope.
That's the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq al Husseini al Shirazi. And he is a very important Grand Marja very high Shiite cleric in Iran. And I thought this was an interesting story. I really don't know what to make of it. Maybe you can explain it. Shirazi says the current practice of Islam significantly diverges from the Islam taught by Prophet Muhammad. He said only the form and name of Islam remain, while the genuine adherence to divine teachings has diminished in many Muslim countries. And he said that it is very important to know that he actually questioned, rather, whether Muhammad would accept the present day interpretation and application of Islam. And he said not even the Muslim states, none of them, totally follow Muhammad's example, even minimally. This guy is the supreme religious authority in Iran. And he called for renewed efforts toward reform. This is according to Shia Waves, and urged believers to strive for genuine adherence to Islam's principles. Now, I just found that puzzling. What do you think that he was saying they're not doing?
Yeah, I have to wonder. I mean, he could be. It all depends on his interpretation of Islam, right? That could be a guy who somehow interprets things peacefully and so on. And so he's thinking, hey, we've gotten so far away from that. Or he's a guy who's like, we're not going far enough. We're being too, that's why Allah's not blessing us. We need to kill more women for not wearing the hijabs and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the guy. I'd have to see what he actually believes about these things.
Well, I would expect, since he holds a high position in the Islamic Republic, it's much more likely that he thinks we're not strict enough. And that this is just this kind of thing, as I've said before, this kind of statement that leads to jihad and fanaticism, because people think, oh, we're not doing what Muhammad wants, we're not doing what Allah wants. Well, what does Allah want? What's the best thing? What is the greatest deed? Is there a greater deed than jihad? And what did Muhammad say?
Doesn't find such a deed.
So there you go. So people think, if I go jihad, maybe finally Muhammad and Allah will be pleased with me.
Well, it's just weird because, I mean, Iran, they've been going really hard, raping and killing women for not wearing the hijab or for protesting and so on. And there's been a lot of uprising, and the leaders are in this really awkward position because they can't back down or compromise, because the only support they have anymore is from the radicals. Mm-hmm. It's the radicals in the population, and they're a minority. They're a minority now, but they're the only support the Iranian regime have. They're the only thing that's keeping them in power. So you can't say, hey, let's be nicer, because then you'd lose the support of the radicals, and then you have zero support. So it's kind of the only thing you can do is try to keep the radicals happy by becoming increasingly radical.
Indeed. So that seems to be the upshot of it, but I thought it was a very strange statement. Anyway, out of Italy, we have this picture from Milan Airport, Malpensa Airport in Milan.
Just say, here's Italy now.
Yes, that's Italy now.
Welcome to Italy.
What happened was an asylum seeker from Mali, which is almost completely Muslim, he 26 years old. He poured gasoline onto counters in the check-in area, and he set the whole area on fire. And this is an asylum seeker. He is hoping to get asylum. He is hoping that the Italians will take him in and welcome him and give him refuge. So he sets the airport on fire.
Smart. You got to get attention, right? Like, hey, everyone, look, I'm really serious about this. I really, 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 really want asylum here.
Yeah, well, actually, talking about attention, this is a restaurant in Monaco. And you can see the poor waiter or maitre d' or whatever he is there on the left. And then there's a guy down here kneeling, doing his Islamic prayers. He just walked into the restaurant. He didn't sit down and order something to eat. He got down and started doing the prostrations, and he's praying. And the poor guy that runs the place, or the waiter, or whatever he is, comes up to him and says, really, you can't do this. You've got to go somewhere else. And he's very polite about it, but he's clear. And the guy says, no, I have a right to pray wherever I want. And so that's what he's doing.
Well, in his defense, maybe the guy who was on the floor face down, butt up, maybe he was just imitating Muhammad on the night of Al-Zut.
Maybe so. We couldn't go for a whole show without some zut.
Yeah, I noticed. I was like, have I not mentioned Zut once in this entire show?
Yep, and it's an hour, and here's the hour mark, so we're at the super chats time.
Brought it in at the last second, ladies and gentlemen.
Just under the wire.
My record remains unmatched.
Okay, so here we go. Could this Islamophobe get a happy birthday from Robert, please? May the Lord bless you always. All right, you ready, David? Happy birthday to you.
Nope.
Happy birthday.
No, you got to do it like this. You got to do it Islamic style. Happy birthday to you. Allahu Akbar.
That's beautiful. I'm inspired now. I'm going to convert to Islam now. All right. Where is it? Here we go. Do moderate imams really believe these attacks are not Islamic? No, they're lying. Hi to you both, and thanks for all you do. What do you think, David? Do they believe it?
I would guess there are some true believers in the peacefulness of, but that's the problem. If your religion encourages you to lie to the unbelievers to cover up your true intentions, you don't know. You don't know, because if they actually are a peaceful Muslim, they're going to tell you, "Oh no, this is peaceful." If they actually want to subjugate you and rape your daughter, no, they're going to tell you, "Oh, Islam's peaceful." They're going to tell you the same thing either way. Makes it very, very, very troubling.
But I base my saying no that they're lying that on the simple fact that if they're an imam and they have any training and they've read Quran in a way that it's not just recitation, but they understand what it says, then they can't miss all the jihad. They can't miss all the violence. And they know it better than we do. So I just don't think it's very likely.
Imams? I'm not sure imams know Islam better than us. Some do. But I've met some imams who do not know a whole lot about Islam.
Well, yeah, you got a point there. Yeah, well, they know it anyway. They know some of it.
So we'll just say probably. If you're picking someone, if he's an imam, he probably knows. You can't really say, if you picked a random Muslim, you couldn't really say because they're all over the place. But an imam, you would think, because he should be more familiar with the Muslim sources, probably knows what it's really about.
Yep. Okay, I'll go with probably. Irish comedian gets arrested by UK police at Heathrow for online jokes. He wasn't even in the UK when he tweeted these jokes. Now, I saw this story, but I admit I did not read it. I don't know what the jokes were. Do you know what they were, David?
I do not, but I might try to check them out while you're checking out Super Chats.
Okay. Are Zoroastrians considered people of the book? Yes, they are, 100%. Zoroastrians are indeed people of the book. It's a great honor. Okay, I'm exaggerating the last bit. Mr. Spencer, I saw your Hearts of Oak interview. Great interview, thank you. You expressed doom and gloom over the UK. I've been doing that for 20 years, my friend. Is there any hope? There's always hope. Remember the state motto of South Carolina. Does everybody here know the state motto of South Carolina? Dum spiro spero. While I breathe, I hope. Very important sentiment. Remember the state motto of South Carolina. Would Nigel Farage victory help? I don't think so. Nigel has already said that he does not see any way. He said if we make this about Islam, a conflict with Islam, Islam will win. So he doesn't see any way to roll back Sharia and Islamization in Britain. I don't think Nigel Farage is the answer, personally.
This is interesting. I looked up. I still don't see his tweets. Maybe they don't want to post them because they're offensive or something like this. But it's saying for transphobic tweets.
Well, I believe in the freedom of speech. And I don't believe that men can become women or women men. And so I don't see any reason why they should be arresting this guy. But Britain is a police state at this point, and there's no freedom of speech. And if he had said something Islamophobic, it'd probably be even worse for him. Do you support or oppose IDF final offensive in Gaza? Speaking strictly for myself, I support it wholeheartedly. The jihad, of course, against Israel will continue as long as there are believers in Islam. But if Hamas were destroyed, as Israel has repeatedly said is the objective here, that would set the jihad back for decades. And so it would be all to the good. And so I'm all for it. David? IDF?
Yeah, it's a situation where Islam specializes in putting people in situations where there's no good outcome. Like no matter what you do, it's a disastrous outcome. And shortly after the October 7th massacre, I forget who it was. I wish I'd jotted this down so I could actually name the person. But he said, the situation we always feel like we're in is, imagine there's a terrorist with a gun and he's pointing his gun at your kid. You've got a gun, but he's hiding behind his kid. And so I've got a gun and I can stop him, but he's hiding behind his kid. So I don't want to shoot his kid. I do not want to shoot his kid, but he's hiding behind his kid and he's about to shoot my kid. Guess what? I don't want to do either one of these. Either scenario, I don't want to be part of this, but Islam is forcing you into making these kinds of decisions. Mm-hmm. And so there are these decisions that people have to make, like, do you have to be very brutal and deal with the problem, or do you do nothing, in which case you'll be annihilated, or what do you actually do? And no matter what you do, you're condemned for it, and there are bad consequences and stuff. So I'm kind of in the position where do what you think is best.
Okay.
I'm not your boss, and they put you in a really crap position. So do whatever you think's best.
Oh. Okay, so I've seen conflicting videos of cats and Qurans. How do they get them to not walk on it? I'm thinking you'd have to soak a Quran. I don't know. How do they get them when they have those videos where the cats are avoiding stepping on the Quran? How do they do that, David?
I don't know. They could have trained it some way, or beaten the cat every time it stepped on the Quran, or maybe it's just a cat that doesn't like stepping on books or something like that. I know they were circulating, and these videos were getting millions of views. And I did not try any tricks. I just put it to the test. I put a Quran there, and I put some food, and the cat walked right over. The cat walked all over the Quran. The cat did not care. Why? Because cats do not care. Cats do not care about your stupid book. I looked up some of this guy's tweets. Okay. He said one of the ones that got him in trouble is, if a trans identified male is in a female only space, he is committing a violent abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. So I guess they're saying, hey, you're encouraging. Well, it's a comedian.
Yeah, he's encouraging violence.
Yeah, but it's a comedian saying it. So anyway, they apparently took him seriously, that he was encouraging people to punch males, biological males who are in women's bathrooms, saying make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch them in the balls.
Well, he's probably really just making the joke about how these guys are pretending to be women, and yet they
have balls. Yeah,
exactly. How much of the Quran is explicitly negative toward Jews, not just disagreeing theologically? Pretty much every time it mentions Jews, it's not about theology in the Quran. It says they're the people who are most vehement in hostility toward the Muslims. It says that Allah transformed the disobedient Jews into apes and pigs. It says that they say they killed Jesus, but they are wrong. They just think they did. And so there's quite a lot of anti-Jewish feeling pushed in the Quran. Hatred that is prescriptive and not descriptive, because it's very clear Muslims are to wage war against and subjugate the people of the book. It's 929. And they are the executors of the wrath of Allah, that fight them and Allah will punish them by your hands, 9:14 and 15. And so when the Jews are portrayed in this negative way, it's very clear that the other shoe to drop is violence against them.
And at the end of the day, it calls for the violent subjugation of Jews and Christians, and hostility seems to be greater towards Jews than even Christians.
I mean, when it does make a theological statement, it's flat wrong. You know, it says the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah. Well, no Jews say that Ezra is the son of God. So it's ridiculous. But mostly it's just saying how evil they are.
Mm-hmm.
They kill the prophets, they break the Sabbath, etc., etc. All right. Please, your opinion on Quebec anti-religious provincial government proposed law to ban praying in public. This to stop Muslims from blocking sidewalks and roads, but bishops oppose. Well, yeah, because why ban everybody from praying in public when only the Muslims are doing it to assert dominance?
Yeah,
Right?
I'd be more in favor of responding to them when they do that. And you don't have to get physical. You don't have to get violence. Guy, if I don't know if that happened around me, I'm pulling out my phone. And if there's a bunch of guys and they're like blocking traffic or blocking something, I'm gonna start standing there saying all sorts of stuff about Muhammad and Aisha and the Quran and all kinds of things and record myself. If guess what? If every time they did that, people just started talking, saying things about Islam and about Muhammad, they're gonna stop. They can't stand that. They can't stand that sort of thing. Instead, no one does anything except for complain behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, all of these situations are very easy to deal with if you just have a population that's fed up with it and knows some basic information. That's it. That's all you need.
And we don't have it. Not yet, anyway. Mo, if you wanted to start a new...
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to find a place where they're blocking something. I just need to see it one day because then I can record it and I can show everyone how it's done.
Well, they're doing it in New York pretty regularly now.
Especially, my goodness, just have women walk back and forth in front of them. That ruins all their prayers.
Walking a dog.
It's in the hadith. A dog, a woman, donkey. You probably won't have a donkey, but dog or a woman just walk back and forth in front of them. It cancels all their prayers. It would be a big waste of time for them.
That would be funny though. You have a woman riding a donkey and holding a poodle, taking it in front of them while they're praying.
But I mean, think about this. If people just knew how easy that is. Oh, they're praying? Woman, hey, honey, go walk back and forth in front of them right now. while I'm standing beside them talking trash about their prophet. They're gonna like that? They're gonna think, oh, this is a good idea. Let's keep doing it.
You got to take video when you do this.
Oh, I will.
Okay. Mo, if you wanted to start a new religion that allegedly worships our God, you could have done that. Not this. Well, good point. Thanks for the updates on Jihad. Keep the faith. 7 AFD politicians dead before elections without investigation is weird. The news has no love for them. Yeah, it's extremely... I mean, it's the very definition of suspicious. 7 politicians from the opposing party that the government wants to shut down mysteriously dead in the run-up to the election. It's not jihad, so I mean, it might be jihad. It might, but it's. I mean, indirectly, you could say it is because the party that is most likely responsible, the governing party, they are in favor of the mass migration and the Islamization of Germany. But anyway, it's just all part of the madness over in Europe. Is it accurate to say that the Hadiths interpreted the Quran so that it encourages war and make it harder to interpret the Quran in a more peaceful way? Well, Quran is pretty warlike without the Hadiths. When you are striving in the way of Allah, that is jihad in the way of Allah with your wealth and your lives, says this repeatedly, that you should wage jihad with your wealth and your life. That's how I translated it in the critical Quran. Wage jihad, because the struggle is very clearly, it's jihad, and they're saying with your wealth and your lives. It's not praying. You are clearly putting your property and your life on the line. You're waging war.
Yeah, and passages like 929, fight those who do not believe. That sounds like a pretty general statement. And you've had Muslims who try, maybe by fight it means debate. Problem is, same chapter, Surah 9, verse 111, defines Muslims as those who've made this awesome trade with Allah. In exchange for the garden, they fight in Allah's way, and it says, so they slay and are slain. So it's talking about by fighting, it means killing, and the kind that where you kill and you get killed. So no reinterpretations there.
And those who say jihad is only peaceful should also look at chapter 8, verse 41, where it says you've got to give 20% of the spoils of war to the messenger. Well, what spoils of war do you get from praying? Or from getting the kids to school on time, or whatever your jihad is? It's very clear the jihad they're talking about is waging war, seizing the property of your enemies. And then you give the cut to Muhammad.
Yeah, I had to bring that up. Just Surah 929 by itself, when people would try to interpret that as, oh, it's just saying, fight metaphorically, peacefully through discussions and debate and so on. It's like, okay, so at the end of the debate, people are going to say, oh, let's pay you money, because it says fight them until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. So you're going to be such great debaters that we're just going to hand you piles of money every year. Like, when does that happen? When is that awesome debate happened?
Oh man, I can't wait to see that one. Well, thank you for your kind words, and sorry I'm coughing over them. All right, having followed Robert over the years, I see his beard is turning a whiter shade of pale. He's not tripping the light fantastic. Listen to this man. I'm not even sure I understand what that means, but thank you. Yeah, I posted a video today from 2013, 12 years ago now. But it's that video when I was on the BBC. It's actually just audio. I was on the BBC with this imam, and the guy asked me, "What's the problem? What's your problem with the Quran?" So I reeled off a bunch of verses, and they turned and said, "Imam, what do you think of that?" And he said, "I don't know. That's his field." And so this is a video. It's gone all around. There was an audio, sorry, but it had 500,000 views, and it got taken down. And so I just thought today I'd put it up on my own channel, which has been around for a few years, and maybe it'll stay there for a while and not get taken down this time. And I thought, well, since it's 12 years old, I'll find an old picture. And I look so much younger.
Robert, can you put that back up? Is it possible? Or
the last one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it here. This one here? Yeah.
Yeah. Whiter Shade of Pale is a song, Robert. And I was a little confused by he's not tripping the light fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Isn't that mean going out dancing or something?
Not that. That is a misunderstanding of the lyrics. That is a misunderstanding. The correct lyrics are, "We skipped the light fandango." But yeah, it is about dancing and stuff.
Oh, that's the song.
Yeah, the song.
Whiter shade of okay.
Whiter shade of pale. Yeah.
I've probably heard it. I don't know.
Oh, look up Whiter Shade of Pale. It's a good song.
I'll look it up.
You'd like it.
I'm sure. What is it? 60s stuff?
Yeah, you remember that? Classic, man. Classic.
Maybe I must have heard it. But anyway, I was with John Coltrane.
It's way back in the day, back in the 70s, when you're smoking a doobie and you're listening to Whiter Shade of Pale. That's why you don't remember it.
Yeah, that wasn't me. Thanks, guys, for doing what you do. My favorite show. Any thoughts on the beheadings in the Book of Revelation as related to Islam versus Christian end times? I always hesitate to speak about the end times. I don't, people have all through history have thought the end times were starting in their own lifetime. You can find in the 12th century, Joachim of Fiore relates the Book of Revelation to his own time. He was all wrong. And anyway, I'm sorry to cut you off. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, and I'm like you. I never really try to apply it, because for all I know, end's not coming for another 50,000 years, and Islam will be a distant memory. So yeah, I don't know. And beheadings has always been a common enough way of executing people that I don't think you can zero in on Islam as the ones carrying it out.
Indeed. Hope I get this in just under the line. You did, and be like David, not like Azut. Yep, there they are again. Arrested comedian almost died. Shock of arrest caused medical emergency. Luckily, he has influential friends. Fame, Ben Habib, and Tommy answer UK. I'm not sure what that means at the end, but I'm glad he's okay, the comedian. And I can understand that. I was once detained in Toronto unexpectedly for 3 hours in the airport. And I didn't know it was going to just be 3 hours. Once it's, 1 hour, 2 hours, going into three, you start to wonder if you're ever going to get out of there. And it can be a little bit disconcerting, to be sure.
He said they treated him like a terrorist.
Yeah, no,
They
did
treated him
me
like
too.
they treated him like someone they caught as a terrorist who'd showed up.
Hmm. Yeah, in Toronto, they searched everything I had and asked me all these questions, and it was very clear they thought they were dealing with some terrorist. Dawa Grifter kit includes 1 gallon of lion pee. What is the lion? Okay, this is.
They're
some
saying
new
that's
thing.
the theory about how to get a cat not to walk on the Quran. So,
Okay, maybe.
oh yeah, so they're giving
But what,
everything
you just
need.
go buy that at the store? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe the zoo. So you get a gallon of lion pee so you can do your thing about a cat not walking on the Quran. You need the Quran. You need Chat GPT for your Lily J stuff, and you need fake blood for your Sheikh Uthman fake hate crime against yourself and blame the Islamophobes. It was bad, Robert. He faked a hate crime against himself, covered himself in fake blood.
I remember.
Then told everyone, oh yes, and the police have apprehended the man, and yes, oh he's gone to court. Oh yes, he's been found guilty. Oh yes, he's in prison. Oh alhamdulillah, he converted to Islam in prison. And then people
Really?
check with
He
the
said
police.
that?
Yeah, he said that. Police check with the police. I mean, police. People check with the police. People check with the courts. No one. Police. We have never heard of any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Compulsive liar, and they love you for it in Islam.
Wow. Yeah, I saw on Twitter the other day somebody put up one of the books I wrote, and somebody responded, "Oh, that book has been completely refuted," which they always say. They never refute it. They just always say that.
Yeah, they say.
And Robert Spencer's right-hand man has converted to Islam. And I thought, what right? I never had a right-hand man. I've always done this work alone.
Yeah, I've never seen you with a right-hand man.
But he converted. Maybe it's because he converted to Islam just before I ever met him. Just eliminated the intermediate step. Cat not included with Dawa Grift kit. Yeah, you got to get the cat at the
get your own
local
cat.
shelter. All right, well that's the last of the super chats. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm off for a big long trip. Going to be speaking. Maybe I'll be speaking in your town. Come see me. And in the meantime, we'll be back, God willing, once I'm back from this monster long trip, and then we will track more jihad. But until then, you know what to do. Pray, hope, and don't worry.